All right. We are here on KingCity Conversations. I am your host, Chestly Lunday, and we have some great contestants today. My little brother, Christian. I don't know if he's great, but he's a contestant. How you doing, Christian?
Doing good. How are you?
Awesome. And Sydney Erickson. We got Sydney in the house.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm excited.
You're excited. You're gonna beat Christian. Everybody's gonna beat Christian. I'm in charge of the points, so this works. Derek, how are you doing, man? My man, Derek Sessom.
Yeah, last but not least, we're here.
That is true. So we're high-teching it today. I'm in my garage. The lights went off in my office, so we still had to have the show go on. So that's what you're getting. My garage with we just moved into this house, so we're not even unpacked yet, and we're still making this show happen. All right, we're gonna get into the rules today. Ain't that right, Christian?
That's
Getting
right.
into the rules, and he's gonna find out why he's gonna lose. Because at first, this is how you gain points. You got to make a good argument. You got to ask good questions, for understanding or for cross-examination purposes. You got to maintain a civil atmosphere. We are KingCity Conversations, talking about the topics that Christians like to ignore and Christian we wish would ignore. No, I'm just but what we really need, we need to have difficult conversations and have fun doing it. And I can make a joke at him because he's my little brother. So make jokes and zingers that don't violate the below rules. Don't be degrading. Don't be derogatory. No crash jokes, Christian. No bad arguments and no heresy. Otherwise, you can go negative on this thing. It's so great. It's so great. Let me show you.
I already feel like a winner. I love it.
You?
This is great. Yeah, I mean, with the deck stacked against negative. Me, we know with Christian, this is great. I think.
Why
am
awesome. I contested if you want me to ignore these topics?
I don't know, but you're definitely negative. So,
okay. Well,
all right.
Start from the bottom. Now we're here, even further at the bottom.
Well, let's get into the first question today, okay? The first question. I'll be nice. This is the first episode. I got to be nice here. All right, we'll put you back in, even playing ground. Could a just God cause evil? What do you guys think? I want to hear from Sydney first. Could a just God cause evil?
I think a hypothetical just God could cause evil. I don't think our just God causes evil.
Now that I'll give you a couple points for that because that's walking the line of heresy. But hey, you got out of there. So
admonish
the just God.
A hypothetical God could still be just and cause evil. I definitely need to hear you pontificate on that a little bit more because I need some clarity.
So this fake God, if we humans behave in a way that is evil, and then he gives us evil consequences for our evil actions.
So karma is just. So this hypothetical fake God could use karma to set up a playing system to where you're gonna get what you deserve, and you think that's just.
Well, it's some double negatives at play there, right? I mean, evil plus evil equals good. That's what I heard.
Isn't
that how it works?
This is getting heated. He just told you that you're wrong. I think that's what he just said.
It's very politely.
Very politely. That was smooth, Derek. Smooth. You get points for that, buddy.
Is there any way we could define just outside of our God? Because like
the Judeo-Christian God?
Right. Because if that's our basis for what just is, then it is whatever he says it is. But if we're kind of going with the Merriam-Webster definition, then I would say that God, this supposed fake God, could cause evil and still be just.
Okay, what about the Judeo-Christian God? Can the Judeo-Christian God cause evil? What do you think, Christian?
I think the Judeo-Christian God could not cause evil and be all just. But I don't think the all just character of God's nature is the reason why he couldn't allow evil and still be all just. If he caused evil, sorry, to correct myself, he couldn't cause evil. The reason I don't think the all just character of his nature is the one that kind of mitigates or restricts back this kind of thinking is because the real moral restriction comes from him being all good. So he couldn't be all good and cause evil. That would be the real restriction. But no, God, the Judeo-Christian God, could not cause evil because he's all good. He's all just. So him being just, whenever he commits something that we might perceive as evil, it is actually good because he's operating within the bounds of his all justiceness, if that's even a word. So whenever he does something, he's doing it out of a sense of his justice. He's not doing it out of a sense of evil.
Okay, so I just heard I was watching Batman versus Superman yesterday, and it's like Lex Luthor is talking to Superman, and he says, "Here's the conundrum: if there's a God that is all good, he cannot be all powerful, and if there's a God that's all powerful, he cannot be all good." So we're talking about justice, but is there an interplay in that? Is there some truth, or do you think, like, I would love to hear what your opinion is, and I don't care who goes.
I mean, I don't think it's true. I think, yeah, like God could control us like we're like his little Barbie dolls and make us behave in a way that prevents us from behaving evilly. Like he has the power to do that. I think he chooses not to do that. So like he could, but he doesn't because he is all good and wants like a genuine relationship with us.
Well, I'd like to add, what standard is Lex Luthor using to determine if God operating out of his all goodness can't be all just, and if he's all just, he can't be all good? By what standard, what moral standard is Lex Luthor using? His own? Because that's what makes it fallible. If God is operating out of his own standard, which is by his very nature, he cannot do evil. If he's operating out of that, he can still definitely be all just. It's fallible for Lex Luthor to think, oh, well, my perception of him being all good means he can't be all just. That's one of the problems with that objection, which was made famous by an atheist that was actually real. So a point against Lex Luthor for being a fictional character. But yeah, that is easily debunkable because you've got to, according to what standard, to quote Jeff Durbin.
Right.
Jeff,
well, wasn't that Marcus Aurelius who like first made that like logical posit about the all power of God and the goodness of God, and there has to be a delineation of one or the other, otherwise God either can't be real or can't be good or just. Listen, I think that's like where that came from.
As soon as Marcus Aurelius said it was wise to wake up early in the morning, I was like, okay, this man's crazy. I'm out.
Hey, check out. Yeah, we're done here. Yeah.
Meditations, uninterested.
Right. I didn't listen when Marcus Aurelius said that, but I did listen when Benjamin Franklin said that for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he probably got it from him.
All right. We're on to question number 2. Question number 2. But first off, we gotta see what the score is. You gotta show us the score. Show us the score. What do we got? Sydney's in the lead. Oh man. 12. It was that quip between I'm not going to listen if somebody tells me to wake up early in the morning. I'm pretty sure there's something in scripture about that, but I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not.
I don't know. That man was all for waking up at dawn. That's not for me.
That's fair. That's fair. All right. Question 2. What do we got? Could a just God cause evil? That was the first one. This one is, why does God cause or allow evil? So there's 2 questions in this right here. Does God cause evil, which we're saying maybe he could, but if he causes evil, why, or if he doesn't, then why does he allow it? So I think we're squarely in the camp of why does God allow evil?
I'm going to use sort of William Lane Craig's argument, which is the greater good argument, which, there are plenty of people on the internet that kind of try to debunk that on their YouTube channels. But the point of it is something that William Lane Craig kind of throws in whenever he's explaining his theology of how he believes that God saves people. Is he's a Molinist, it's hard to explain, but he believes that we have free will given the circumstances. So he throws given the circumstances in there as it's kind of like guardrails whenever you're bowling. You can't go off in the gutters whenever you're bowling with guardrails up. That's sort of what the circumstances dictate. You can go wherever you want in the middle, but you can't go off either side. It's similar to how a Molinist describes the problem of evil. So God allows certain things, given the circumstances, he allows humans to do evil things. And within those circumstances, eventually posits a future where Jesus returns. And if these things don't happen, then the future is kind of it's an alternate possible world, as William Lane Craig calls it. But in this world, those evil things have to happen in order for a greater good to occur, and that greater good is Jesus returning.
Anybody want to add to that or disagree with that?
Yeah, I kind of disagree because we have that kind of goes against the shepherd leaving the 99 for the one. Because with your argument, it would be for the greater good for him to stick with the 99.
I would disagree with that only in that in the parable, the shepherd leaving the 99, he had to go after the one because going after the one posited a future where a greater good occurs. If he didn't go after the one, the future where a greater good is supposed to occur wouldn't actually occur because he didn't do what was supposed to do in this possible world. If that makes any sense.
I mean, doesn't that like the ends being completely being justified by the means as far as getting there, though, to some degree, but it's the place things have to happen. Which, I mean, I've heard John MacArthur say it. I've heard a few people say it, and I think it goes back to where you draw the line of God's interaction with our autonomy versus the total sovereignty of who he is, right? I think that you get different stages. Okay, evil is allowed to get to a point of future glory for God. So that to quote John Foreman, the shadow proves the sunshine type of deal, right? Where it's well, we have to go through the rain so that we can get to the rainbow. I don't know if that's really sufficient for saying that's is that really a good or just thing?
Well, I think justification, while technically is probably the correct term for it, I'm very careful. So the reason I wouldn't consider it's the ends that justify the means is because the means aren't morally justified. God will still punish the evil that is done. It's not like he won't punish Judas for betraying Jesus, even though that had to happen in order for God to fulfill the Old Testament prophecy. So justified as in morally justified? Absolutely not. He's not going to count that as a good because the greater good happened. It's still an evil that God allowed to occur because allowing it to occur brings about something else that he has planned in the future that posits a greater good. So I would be careful about calling it a justification, especially given a moral context in terms of God and his nature.
So does anybody else have anything to say about that?
Well, I think going back to what Christian was saying about, Judas and the justification piece, I think that's where a lot of people get caught up. And that's conversations to where I would get in with friends all the time about hindsight is 2020, right? So seeing prophecy being fulfilled in the Bible and seeing how the the actions laid out from Judas, right? Perfect example. I think like that in itself is like a perfect snapshot image of either causing or allowing evil to happen, because it begs the question that, okay, even though God being completely sovereign, foreknowing, and knowing and having everything allowed to happen, was Judas controlled to betray Christ, or was it just in his nature as a flawed, sinful man to be consumed by his greed to then betray Christ? Which is a difference. Like, you can get into like the semantics of like the transitive property, or it's like, well, one created the other one, therefore it still happened. So does that mean the creator caused it? Or is it just that, even though they knew, doesn't mean that there was a level of controlling there, and that you had hundreds of years of prophecy, literally to the finest details of like, he's going to get paid with this amount of silver. Like, okay, but we still didn't have him named, right? Judas Iscariot was not known to be that, because otherwise I think even the Pharisees would have had a hard time denying that this is really kind of weird. There's too much stuff happening that's coincidental here. We've already kind of thrown a lot of it away that we claim to already know so much about, but this guy's literally has been written on the scrolls from prophecy. So like, I think like Judas is a prime example of causing versus like allowance of evil.
All right, Sydney, you get one last chance.
I guess I have so many thoughts. It's hard to choose just one.
Gotcha.
And most of them are tangents, so I can't choose those ones.
Gotcha again.
I feel like the way I've always understood why God allows evil is to go back to my Barbie doll example. The relationships that I have with my Barbie dolls will never be as deep as the relationships I have with other people, because my Barbie dolls don't have a choice to love me. Like, I control them, I control their actions. Versus other people, we can have a real, genuine relationship. And I think that's what God wants for us. And so this kind of gets into the free will debate, which I know Christian has thoughts on. So like, because of that, I think God gives us free will and allows us to have that. And so that, to allow us to have real relationship with him, he has to allow us to make evil choices. Because if he didn't, we'd be Barbies. And
I don't think God likes teeth.
All I want to say is I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. What can I say now?
I identify as a Ken doll.
Oh, wow. All right.
No.
Well, we know who's losing now.
No, that was an okay joke.
Oh,
Heresy.
All right. So what do we do about this? We got a tie for last place right now with Derek and Christian.
I think Christian just automatically loses, right? That's how it works.
I mean, hey.
That's how it works. I'm the Woody Page of this panel. Okay.
All right, there we go. There we go.
End up.
What are your last words? What are your last words? Come on. Never mind. We're good. You're out.
Oh.
All right. So we are down to the last question against Sydney against Derek. But I will say, I do have a problem. You guys barely touched on the sin of man in that entire process. So you guys should all be deducted points in there. All of you. I cannot believe you didn't go there. How dare you? But Christian's still losing. So, all right. Sydney and Derek. That's all we got right now. And we are going to go to the last question, which isn't really a question. It's a video clip. I want you to watch it, and then I want your thoughts.
On that point, to ask why does God allow it? Well, I do think that is an expression of the goodness of God, that he gives freedom of the will to creatures so that they are significant moral agents, and that entails the risk that they may make bad choices. So I think that it is an expression of the goodness of God that he accords to creatures the freedom to disobey and thereby to bring about this privation in the world, which is evil.
So what do you got to think? What do you guys think about that? I want your commentary on William Lane Craig's idea of evil in the world.
I think it's I mean, first allow me, I'll be the first one to pander. I like points. I think it fits perfectly with the creation story in the garden. I mean, right? Like that's like the biggest question as far as why does evil exist, is you have to go back to Genesis. Like, why did God put allow the tree of good and evil to be in the garden? And why wasn't there, like, it's separated by like a chasm or something to make it inaccessible to Adam and Eve? And I think it goes right back to it, where God, above all else, and I think it's true throughout the entire biblical narrative, above all else, he wants community and communion with us. He wants a loving relationship to be reciprocated, by our worship and by his blessing. And I think so many other times we get caught up in so many things that is, feelings of shame or less than, or that we need more, or that, anything else that comes from a space that we aren't what we already should claim to be, which is people created in God's image and are loved just as we are. And that God only wants us to follow suit and to follow him. But I think it just goes right back to it. I think we're sinful, flawed beings because we like to go our own way.
Sydney, what do you got?
No, I mean, I think it definitely brings up like an interesting kind of concept of evil being a byproduct of love that we don't often think about. But I think there is truth in that. Like, God loved us so much that he gave us free will and the ability to make choices. Like, he loved us so much, he gave us freedom. We just kind of messed it up and made bad choices. But yeah, no, I agree with Derek, I think. Yeah.
Wow. I got to give Derek the win if you're just going to say, I agree with Derek. No, Derek.
You made it sound
All right, Derek, you know what this means. For 30 glorious seconds, you get to go and riff without any interruption. So here we go.
That's great to me. First off, I just want to thank everyone for not being as good as me and winning the game. I think that clearly at the end of all this, I deserve some type of trophy. But, all gloating aside, God does love us, and he does have a plan for us. And I think so much of that glorious grand plan is through Christ, who's our King, and that we should be able to find our fulfillment in him. And have even more joy than joy that I have right now, the fact that I stomped these guys out and won the game fairly. And that's just where we're at right now. But hey, you know what? That's neither here nor there.
Wow. Okay. He was so humble. So humble. What do you got to say about that, Christian? As we close out, what do you got to say? No, we're good. All right. Oh, yes. It's so good to have you guys here. We're going to do this again next week. We are so excited to have you here. If you have questions, here's what I want you to do. I want you to email us at Chestly, that's CHESTLY, at KingCity.church. Again, that's Chestly, CHESTLY, at KingCity.church. We'd love to hear your questions, and we'll have a mostly civil conversation on King City Convos. And we will see you next time.